Millions of people are screaming at their televisions, painting their faces, and feeling emotionally destroyed because 11 total strangers lost a game. And then there is you. You feel absolutely nothing. While 60% of the population follow sports like a literal religion, a massive group of people just don't care. According to neuroscience, your brain isn't broken or boring. It is fundamentally wired differently. To understand the non-fan, we have to understand the fanatic. Humans are tribal creatures. For thousands of years, being part of a tight-knit group meant direct survival against predators. Your tribe kept you alive. Modern sports are simply ancient tribes with way better merchandise. When a fan watches their team, their brain releases a massive flood of oxytocin. This is the exact bonding hormone that makes you love your actual family. The brain literally tricks the fan into believing these millionaire athletes are members of their literal clan. But people who don't obsess over sports possess what psychologists call lower tribal instincts. Their identity is not fiercely tied to a group. They are highly individualistic. They inherently say, I don't need to belong to something bigger to feel entirely complete. A landmark 2019 study confirmed that people with low sports interest show significantly less us versus them thinking. They don't automatically hate the opposing side just because they wear a different colored jersey. But it gets much weirder when we look directly inside the brain of a sports fanatic during a live game. You know that intense feeling right before you open a highly anticipated gift? That is dopamine firing rapidly. Sports fans receive constant, powerful microdoses of anticipation and neurological reward during every single play. Brain scans show that watching your favorite team activates the identical reward pathways as gambling. It is literally addictive. The complete uncertainty of the outcome is what makes it so incredibly potent. This is intermittent reinforcement, the absolute most addictive psychological reward schedule known to science. For non-fans, their dopamine systems are simply never triggered by vicarious secondary competition. Research from the University of Chicago suggests this indifference might literally be hardwired directly into your genetic code. Then there is a phenomenon called BIRGing, basking in reflected glory. When the team wins, fans passionately yell, "We won." But notice the fascinating pronoun switch when things go wrong. They lost. Non-fans don't need external, unpredictable victories to feel personally successful. Their self-esteem is vastly more stable. Now, this doesn't mean non-fans are cold or lack deep empathy. In fact, sports fans often score higher on specific empathy tests. They practice caring deeply about the intense struggles of complete strangers wearing jerseys. For non-fans, it is purely a matter of empathy allocation. Everyone has a limited capacity for deep emotional investment. Non-fans direct that empathy towards social causes, creative projects, or deep intellectual challenges. A 2021 study revealed that low sports interest correlates heavily with high openness to experience, art, and beauty. They chase the exact same emotional highs. They just find them elsewhere. For some, this indifference is a brilliant defense mechanism. Perhaps they felt deeply excluded by aggressive sports cultures in their youth. Or maybe they simply look at grown adults screaming violently at plastic boxes and find it utterly bizarre. It ultimately comes down to how your brain constructs meaning. Fans love the unpredictable, real-life drama of sports. Non-fans look at that exact randomness and say, why would I invest my limited emotional energy into something I cannot control? Neither side is wrong. It's just two entirely distinct paths to fulfilling the deep human need for story and deep meaning. Scientists call this parasocial investment versus direct engagement. Fans build one-sided relationships with heroes who don't know they exist. Non-fans demand absolute reciprocity. They invest where their actual presence directly shapes the outcome. Psychologists note that deep flow states, the pinnacle of human absorption, can be achieved through infinite pathways. Non-fans often report feeling immensely more present in their immediate daily lives. They don't lose 3 hours every Sunday. You are not missing a core human experience. Your rewards, instincts, and empathy are just calibrated differently. You're just playing an entirely different game. Let's dive deeper into the neurological architecture of this indifference to understand exactly how a brain builds a reality without fields or courts. When we examine the sensory processing networks, we find that the sports indifferent brain filters high-stimulus group environments uniquely. It rejects the noise. What a fanatic experiences as thrilling community energy, the independent brain often processes as exhausting ambient data. This is an active optimization of internal cognitive load, preserving energy for highly specific, self-directed goals. The choice to disengage is often subconscious, driven by an inherent biological preference for internal baseline stability over external spikes. Society constantly signals that sports fandom is default behavior, making the non-fan look like a deliberate rebel. But it's not rebellion. It is cognitive autonomy in its purest form, unswayed by localized group pressure or mass cultural narratives. Consider the profound psychological freedom of having your mood completely detached from the physical performance of a sports team. Millions wake up depressed because a ball hit a post. Meanwhile, the non-fan wakes up with their emotional capital fully intact, ready to spend it on things they control. This creates a remarkably self-contained emotional economy that acts as a buffer against modern societal stress. Their energy is never wasted on synthetic drama, allowing an unmatched depth of focus in chosen personal domains. But why does society find this indifference so unsettling at times? Why the constant pressure to conform? Because tribal cohesion demands uniformity. When you refuse to participate in the collective ritual, you suddenly highlight the arbitrary nature of the ritual itself. You remind them that it's all a constructed game. This realization can be uncomfortable for someone who has built their entire weekends and social circles around spectator sports. The sports indifferent individual doesn't lack a love for spectacle. They simply demand that the spectacle possess lasting intrinsic value. They prefer the enduring narratives of human discovery, artistic evolution, and direct personal mastery over transient games. For them, genuine meaning is grown slowly through direct interaction with reality, not bought via stadium tickets. They seek deep transcendence. They find their emotional peaks in a breathtaking symphony or a solitary walk through a silent, misty forest. This allocation of attention is highly deliberate and forms the foundation of their unique personality structure. By bypassing the engineered highs of modern sports entertainment, they preserve a rare state of radical presence. They are fully grounded in the present moment. They choose to build their own actual world instead of passively consuming the competitive struggles of another's world. They realize that stadium triumphs are fleeting. They choose instead to build monuments of meaning that do not expire when the game clock hits zero. Let us turn our analytical focus toward the precise dopamine dynamics that govern this state of deep indifference. While the sports fan's neural pathways require constant, unpredictable inputs, the non-fan maintains a beautifully stable baseline. They avoid the crash. Because they do not ride the artificial highs of a team's victory, they are entirely immune to the devastating post-game crash. This emotional immunity allows them to remain an anchor of cool rationality when the culture around them descends into tribal frenzy. They view the mass hysteria of fandom from a place of quiet, detached psychological observation. They are totally unswayed by the constant media machinery designed to manufacture urgent sports narratives. Their mind remains entirely sovereign. They write their own schedules, define their own personal seasons, and celebrate milestones that belong entirely to them. This is the deep beauty of the non-fan's mind, a landscape built on individual curiosity and deliberate emotional investment. Let us examine how an identity independent of modern sports culture evolves over a lifetime. It begins early. While other children find immediate, prefabricated belonging in local sports teams, The non-fan begins building an independent path. This path requires more personal effort, as they must discover what brings them genuine fulfillment without a pre-packaged community narrative. But the reward of this search is an incredibly resilient self-concept that does not rely on a group's validation. They become completely unshakable. They do not experience the fragile shifts in mood that plague the sports fanatic when a game goes awry. They offer a grounded perspective to their loved ones, acting as a reminder of what truly matters in real life. Their inner compass is guided entirely by personal values, direct relationships, and authentic curiosity. This makes the non-fan's life an extraordinary exploration of direct experience, rich with personal milestones and self-defined meaning. Let us finalize our mapping of the non-fan's emotional landscape by looking at the long-term benefits of this neurological structure. They enjoy a massive emotional surplus. Because their cognitive energy is never drained by the synthetic stress of spectator sports, they have more presence for their actual lives. They invest heavily in relationships where their care actually matters to the outcome and brings genuine reciprocity. Their empathy is never scattered across a stadium. It is focused deeply on the people right in front of them. They navigate the human experience with a rare, quiet clarity that is becoming increasingly scarce in our highly engineered world. They know exactly who they are. So the next time you choose to entirely ignore a massive game, remember that you are not broken or boring. You are simply allocating your mind's incredible gifts to a completely different game. A game where you are the active participant, creating authentic meaning and playing for stakes that are genuinely real.